DBSCG things.
What's up, Yuhp gang? It's your boy Taxon, and welcome back to Yuhp DBSCG Things. And today we're going over another very exciting deck list, guys. This is going to be the deck that I took to my locals last week and went undefeated with. This is Majin Vegeta. But before we get into it, guys, I do want to say if you guys want any custom mats and/or sleeves, absolutely check out Promats, guys. This is the best place to go get your custom card needs. And if you guys do decide to get a mat from them, make sure you guys use the promo code Yuhp to save on your entire order. With that being said, guys, if you guys enjoyed this list or my content in general, remember to hit all those buttons for me. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's turn it around and check it out. Alrighty, you guys, here's the deck. Now let's go ahead and go over it. Starting off first with the leader, we have Vegeta and bo1. I have my pretty TCG metal ones. Shout out to them. Anyways, we have Overlord on the front side. You get to choose one of your servant cards, place it at the bottom of your deck, and then draw a card. That is really, really good. Auto, once per or not even once per turn. When you attack, you get to take a life, add it to your hand, and if you do so, you get to draw a card and then gain 5k in double strike. And then that is that's essentially going to be the entire theme of this deck, is going to be ripping yourself down and swinging a bunch of double strikes at your opponent. Anyways, Awaken at your 5 or less life, which is going to be super easy to obtain considering how much self-awakening you do yourself, and going into your turn 2, your opponent probably swing at you at least one time, so it's pretty cool. You get to untap 2 energy and then flip over. On the back side, you have Overlord still, so if you have a card that you overlord on the front side, and on the awakening turn you get the overlord on the back side again, which is really nice. Activate main is essentially the auto on attack from the front side, except for it's done at activate main timing. You add a life to your hand, draw a card, 5k and double strike. Activate main, probably the best part about the deck. Once per turn, 1 green energy. You may look at the bottom card of your deck. If that card is a Vegeta card with an energy cost of 3 or less and the servant skill, you may play that card. If it wasn't, you may return it to the bottom of your deck. That skill used to be a little bit tricky to set up, but with the new anniversary card, it is extremely, extremely easy and makes this deck highly aggressive. So that is the leader. We'll move him off to the side. Getting into the deck, my Unison of choice, because this Unison is super easy to play. We have King Piccolo, Dimensional Conqueror. This guy has Rejuvenate, which I actually managed to get off a lot for some reason, which I did not expect to use very much, but I do get it off. Anyways, Rejuvenate, if you guys do not know, it's a once per turn skill. This card says if your leader is green and you remove 4 markers from this card, you get to place 1 card from underneath this card into the drop area and then place the top card of your deck into your life. So that is pretty nice, because essentially your leader and a bunch of other cards in this deck are going to be taking life on attack and or on play. So that's going to allow you to either get 1 more attack in or just get an extra life to try to defend your opponent's next turn. Anyways, he has the super nifty effect, which is probably one of the main reasons we play this Unison. Activate main for 1 green if your opponent, or if your leader's mono green and your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand. You can play this card from your hand with 1 marker on it, and then you can't play Unisons for the turn. The reason that is super good is because even if your opponent goes first and they go into your turn 1 with 6 cards in hand, if you swing with your leader and they don't combo out and they take that damage, they turn this card on. So that's essentially going to put another 15k body on field on your turn 1 if they went first, and then it can also be your turn 2 if you go first, which is even better. Anyways, activate main, which is another great reason to play this card. You get to choose 1 card from your hand and place it underneath this card. If you do not do that part of this skill, you do not get the remainder of the skill, so remember, always place a card underneath this card to get the skill. But it's also cool because if you just want a +1 to add a marker to it and not do the skill, that's fine as well. Anyways, choose 1 card in your hand, place it underneath this card, and then if you do that, you and your opponent get to draw a card. And then you get to play 1 battle card with an energy cost of 1 from your hand. And then at the end of your turn, your opponent gets to choose up to 1 card from their hand and bottom deck it. They're almost never going to choose to do that, but that's fine. The main reason that this is going to be really good is because this is going to enable a lot of our 1-drop plays for free, while also providing us a 15k attacker and having a Unison outfield, which turns on other things like Dormant and Frieza. So, very, very good card, and it's a turn 1 play if you really need it to be if you're going second. Next up, we have 1 copy of Golden Frieza. I run this because I had inspiration for this deck from Dragon Dad Gaming. Shout out to him. If you guys don't subscribe to him, go check him out. Anyways, Golden Frieza Newfound Might. I never played this card, even though I see where it can be very useful, because this deck a lot of the times threatens game on turn 2, but never actually finishes it on turn 2, and then kills on turn 3. which is where this can come into play very, very efficiently, because especially in our yellow matchup, if our yellow player manages to turn on their Mecha Frieza, going into our turn 3, we can play this after getting a Mecha and then just proceed to swing face without having to rest anything, which is really nice. But if you guys don't know what this guy does, he's in Power 4 dual attacker blocker. The blocker skill is also really nice because we do run dormant in the deck, so we can do the dormant block trick, and then if we have an extra negate to actually see another turn. Anyways, he has a counter-attack skill that you're never going to use. It doesn't negate attack, it just plays this card with 3 markers on it, but that is nice because the auto comes into play if it's played with 4 or more markers. You get to choose all your opponent's battle cards and KO them. So if you do end up using this on like a defensive turn 3 counter timing, you can essentially you want to use it on your opponent on an opponent's battle card swing so that you can kill the attacking card as well, and then the battle's just over, and then you have the blocker Unison on play. Anyways, the best part about the card, which is probably the only reason we run the card, activate main. This card gets -4 activate main. This card gets plus 10,000 power and triple strike for the duration of the turn, and at the end of the turn you switch this card to active mode. So if you have this on field turn 1 and or 2, going into your turn 3, this will have 3 and or 4 markers depending on what kind of strategies and or if you stuffed it. This card will come in with the 3 energy, take 4 markers, take up to 4 markers, so it will be either at 6 or 7 markers depending on what you did with this guy. And then you can -4, swing 2 times for triple strike, and then still have a blocker, and if you have dormant, you can do, like I said, that whole entire play. I personally have never played the card yet. It always ends up in my energy, or I just don't draw it. Next up, we have for Charismatic Villain. This card is super essential to see. If we get this Unison out early, this card is really important to see because this card stops a lot of big, nasty threats in the format. So if you're versing things like Red GT Goku or something, and you got your Unison out early, and you put the rush down, you put them down low, but they're trying to come back with the clapback. If you're versing Red GT Goku, like in the GT Gogeta stuff, that game's never seen turn 4, so you don't have to worry about the 8-drop, but you do have to worry about the little arrival cards. So this card will help you try to stop that, and same thing with Dredge Destroyer as well. Anyways, more defense. We have Dormant Potential Unleash. I know it's a super aggro deck, but I'm starting off with all this defense package just because it ties in with the Unison. Anyways, Dormant Potential. Everyone knows what this card does. It doesn't negate the attack, but it's activated at counterattack timing. What it does is it KOs a 2 or less battle card, and then if you pitch a green card from your hand, your opponent only gets to attack once more for the turn. So this card is really good, especially paired up with another card in our deck, and or this card right here. So next up, we have another free negate. This guy is Boo, thwarting the enemy. He costs 1 to use the counterattack. He's also a limit 1, which is really important to notice. It's essentially just negate the attack and then play this card in rest mode. But thing to note is that since we do play Unisons, it does have an effect where you can activate Spirit Boost 2 instead of paying its energy cost to negate with the card. So it's really good. So if you're not planning on rejuvenating, or if you're just in a super sticky predicament and you need to negate a big like double striker and or triple striker, you can definitely Spirit Boost 2 off of this Unison here, and then negate the attack and play that card, which is really nice. Next up, another free negate, but the card is a little costly considering our deck is already ripping itself down a lot. We have Homicidal Clones. If you're at 5 or less life, which is super easy, you're there turn 2 guaranteed. You can take a life, negate the attack, and then play a blocker. The card is good and all, but a lot of the times you don't want to be taking life with your counter skills to stop attacks, because you want to be taking life off of your attacking skills just to be more aggressive. This deck's an aggressive deck. And our last like extra card and or I don't even know what to call it. It's not a defensive tool, but it's an extra card. Can be used as defense, but most of the time you're going to use this card to stop things like Floodgates, Mecha Frieza, Topo, things along those lines. Anyways, we have Dark Death Ball here as a counterplay. If you have a green Unison in play, you need a green Unison play to activate this card. So if you're not seeing your Unison and you see this, just charge it, get it out of your hand. It's going to be dead if you don't see this. Anyways, if you have a green Unison in play, if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 4, it's placed into the owner's drop area instead, and then you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 and KO it. So any 4 or less card being played will be played to the drop area, so anything without deflect. So like I said, you're probably not going to use this offensively because most people's offensive plays have deflect and or barrier, and you're probably not going to worry about it. You just negate the attack anyways. This guy is going to be, like, I'm so serious, this is just going to be here to stop your Mecha Frieza, Topo-ish cards, Floodgates. Next card, we have our super combo. Great Saiyaman, Vanquisher of Villainy. No need to run any other green super combo in this deck. There's absolutely no need, especially since this enables things like our leader's backside effect, the pay one. Really, really good. You can use this card, swing for a 20k double strike. If you're at 4 or less, you can super combo. What you're going to do here is you're going to bottom deck a Vegeta of a 3 cost or less with Servant, draw 2 fresh cards, and then pay 1 and play a battle card off of that skill there. So you do get a lot of value off that, and you definitely don't want to run anything other than Great Saiyaman. Next up, a couple 1-drops that we play. They're also super good because we free cast 1-drops off of this. So we have Paragus the Sacrifice. This card is great. He's an activate main. Choose one of your battle cards and other than this card, and then KO it. You get to draw, or place it in the drop area, not KO it, and then draw a card. Reason that that's super good is that because we have a couple cards in this deck that we don't want to stick on the field for too long, and we definitely don't want to overlord them and bottom deck them over other cards. So he allows us to remove cards that have unique, which is super important. I'll bring up why that's a little bit more important when we get to the card. And also, I do want to point out that, I guess I'll just get there later. Anyways, we have 3 bo1 Mind Snatcher, just another good 1-drop card. This guy essentially just comes out, he top 7 searches for a Servant Vegeta of any cost. So you just get to go find any of your Servant Vegetas that are going to help you be aggressive. And the best thing about him is that he can still be played off the Unison for free. Next up, we have Servants. This is my favorite turn 1 play. So essentially turn 1 you can't attack, right? We all know that. What I like to do is charge a card, especially if I'm not versing red, and I'm not worried about a minus skill or some type of removal of a low cost on my opponent's turn 1. So I'll start off, leader, can't do nothing. I can't attack. My skills only happen when I attack, so I can't do nothing on my turn 1. So I would just charge this if I go first, right? Or play this if I go first. And then if my opponent doesn't remove it, which they probably won't, it's a 15k, so they'd have to do a lot to get rid of it on their turn 1. Anyways, going into my turn 2, I have 2 fresh energy. I have a leader swing. I have a 15k swing, and that's without investing any cards from my hand yet, or any investing into my field at all, which is really nice because that's essentially close to 3 damage just without doing anything on your turn 2 yet. Another fantastic card. A great thing to note about him too is he plays for free off the Unison. Another fantastic card and one of my favorite pieces to the deck is the promo Vegeta that came out with the deck for forever ago. This guy he's a servant, so he's always a 15k, and then if you choose to take a life when he's played, he gains double strike. There is a lot of instances where I play this guy and I don't take a life and I'm just threatening a small body just to be a little bit more aggressive, but most of the time you're taking life with him. Another great thing to note is that you don't always have to pay 1 for him. You can pay 1 or plus on this and play him for free. Another cool thing to note is that, like I said earlier, that if you go second and you make this your turn 1, you can swing for a total of 5 damage, which is pretty cool. Because, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just on your turn 1, which is crazy. Going into the next card, we have Vegeta, Prince of Destruction, Proud Defiance. This guy is the new anniversary card. This is going to be the card that really, really pushes this deck back into its former glory. Like, I'm not going to lie, I have gotten turn 2 kills with this deck. It was against Red Shenron, and it wasn't in a local or anything, just testing with my buddies, but it did feel good. He did have 2 balls in life, but getting a turn 2 kill felt nice. Prince of Destruction, Vegeta. This guy, he's a unique barrier servant. Permanent, this card cannot attack, so no matter what, this card can never attack. And then, in that same permanent, if your opponent has more energy than you, this card has blocker. So if you do lose the die roll and you go second, this card will be your dormant block combo. So if you don't get rid of him and he's on your field, you can because he doesn't attack, and then you can't, and he does have servant, so you can never really put him in rest mode to untap. You just block with him, and if it's over 15k, he dies, and which is nice because he has unique and you can just replay him. Anyways, activate main. This is going to be where the cards like real toolbox stuff really comes in, and what really makes this card useful in the deck. So essentially, activate main if your leader is a green evil wizard bo1 card, and your opponent has 1 or more energy. Play this card from your hand. That's awesome, because on play, this card says auto. When this card is played, draw 1 card and then place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of the deck. that is great because that tutors our leader's activate main very, very well. And your opponent only has to have one energy. So like I said, if you go first, you play this, or you go first, you play this, and you have this, right? Going into your turn 2, you can do this, play this, use another energy to play this. You can awaken here. Like, you can do all types of crazy stuff. And then you free play here, and then you can bottom deck this card here, which we run 4 copies of. This is Prince of Destruction Vegeta, and this guy essentially is a 30k double strike that you play off your leader's backside effect. And yeah, if your opponent, he's an auto, if your opponent activates a counter, he just switches to active. Which most of the time, especially since you're doing all this so early, your opponent's using a free counter that activated from life. So they're essentially going to pay a life to play a blocker, and it's just going to switch them to active mode, which is really, really good. Anyways, he has another activate main skill. You can pitch him from your hand, choose one of your opponent's Unisons, and remove a marker from it. You're almost never going to... Oh, wait. You place him from your hand to the bottom of the deck, so don't let me get... I thought you pitched him from your hand to the drop area. Nope, he goes to the bottom of the deck, which is actually kind of cool. Anyways, he just removes a marker from your Unison during activate main time, and so nothing super, super crazy there, unless your opponent's Unison's at like 1 marker after attacking at it maybe once, and you just want to get rid of it. I have never used that effect. This card is essentially just to tutor this card and make this card live on your turn 2, which is fantastic. And it's great because you can do it at 5 life, which means you don't have to rely on things like this. Another cool thing to note is that he's not blocker if you go first, so that's another reason Paris the Sacrifice is great, because he is unique and barrier, so your opponent's going to struggle getting rid of him. And if you want to do the play to replay this again, and you have him in hand but him on field, you can't play another one, obviously, because it has unique. So you're going to have to Paragus, +1 off this, place it Paragus for free, activate main, pop this card to draw a card, and then you can replay another one, draw a card, bottom deck this, and then use your leader effect. That is definitely a thing. This Vegeta, same old from forever ago. Everyone knows what that card does. He's a beast. Essentially a 30k double strike dual attack. We have this guy. I think I've played this card once. I almost never use him. I do like this art, though. I have the other one. But I like that. I like the SPR and this art. I don't know which one I like better. I just like this scene because this is right after he killed the audience in the World Tournament. But anyways, 4 cost. He has Servant, so he's essentially a 30k. Deflect, triple strike, and then auto when this card is played. You get to choose one of your opponent's Unisons and remove 3 markers from it. So this is a really only good when you're... I mean, not many decks are going to establish a Unison on their turn 2 that you really need to deal with right now, because they're probably going to be leaving energy up to stop what you're about to be doing with all your double strikes. So a Unison is not normally what you're going to worry about, especially since the way you play him is off this this guy's activate main here. If you have 3, or is it 3? Yeah, if you have 3 or more energy, you can pay 2 and play him, which is cool because you can plus on the Unison, play him for free, and then make him only a 2 energy investment instead of a 3 energy investment, which is pretty cool. Triple strike, 30k, remove 3 markers. That's essentially all he does. No Unisons have threatened me enough to make me feel like I really need to play him. Most of the time, if he comes out, he's probably just going to be there to threaten the 30k triple. Anyways, our next card, which is finally officially out of the Servant of Vegeta package. These are our tech tools, and this is our last 5 cards of our 50 card list. We want to stay at a low number because we don't want any any inconsistent issues with the deck. So I just kept it at super low numbers and try to pick and choose what I thought was the best cards to keep at high and what I decided to cut. Anyways, 2 copies of Son Goku Faded Rivals. This card's great. He essentially is a barrier removal for 2, and if I believe bottom deck is Saiyan for my Z energy. So it's pretty cool. If I combo him from my hand to survive an attack at some point, I can turn 3 him and then just pay 1 to play him from the bottom of the deck off my leader effect, so that's pretty cool. He's also a 30k double striker as well, so he goes along with the theme of the deck. He's barrier as well, so if your opponent is somehow surviving, they're going to struggle removing him. My 2 overwhelm choices, because I do run 2 separate overwhelms because I do want to make sure I see one. I have a double strike crit, just to go with the theme of the double strike. He's free. He's super threatening. He is only 20k, but we do so much damage early game. Our opponent's going to be comboing a lot, so their hand's probably not going to be the greatest. Anyways, and then we have Broly. He gets used more often than Goku here, simply because a lot of the times, like I said, you're going in on your like turn 2 and 3. Like those are the turns like you're probably gonna kill, and your opponent's like fearing for their life. So they're going to use a negate at some point, especially if this card hits field. They're gonna negate, and it's probably gonna be a free one, which means they probably just paid a life for it. He's gonna untap, and then you're just gonna play this, get rid of the blocker that they just played off the negate, and then you got 2 more attacks. My last card in the deck is Pan Time Patrol Maiden. She is pretty nifty. Her counterattack you can't use until you're at 3 or more energy, which sucks in some sense, but a lot of the times you just play her as an extra attacker. I do use her a lot as defense, especially since you can do, like I said, the blocker combo, especially if you go second. You can stop all your opponent's battle cards, block whatever just attacked, and then you are pretty much safe for the rest of the turn. A lot of the times she's just a free 40k beat stick. I do want to say though, if I had Cell Xeno, I'd probably be testing Cell Xeno out though, or not Cell Xeno, Cell Max, because I main deck Paragus. If I get to my turn 3, and I can just straight up play Cell Max and then pop it for my last damage without any interaction, I just feel like that'd be a lot more consistent. Maybe not consistent, but just getting an extra. I don't know, it's hard to say, because this threatens a 40k attack, which isn't a guaranteed damage, while Cell, I can just pop myself with Paragus, draw a card off that, and force the damage through my, I don't know. Anyways, that's just my take on it. Let's go over the Z deck that I absolutely almost never use. I guess I'll make some room for it. I will put it right here. I have 2 copies of SSB Vegeta Surmounting the Impossible. 1 copy is in my brother's deck right now. I'm letting him borrow one. This card essentially is tutoring this card, or he can be a Self-Awakener if you're not seeing this on your turn 2. But most of the time, you're just going to use him to bottom deck this and draw a card. Maybe take a life to get extra resources to hand, but a lot of the time you're not going to take a life with him because you're doing so much take a life with other skills. Next up, we have 2 copies of Frieza. This is probably one of the better Z cards options for green. Essentially, he's a 2 energy, 1 Z energy double strike. So he's a really cheap threat that I can play out, especially if I'm not seeing any of my other threats, or if I just need 1 more double strike push to really go for game. Another cool thing about him is I can pop a Z energy if one of my other cards with energy cost of 2 or more is attacking, my opponent has to discard 1. So if I'm using this guy on attack or this thing to attack, essentially I can pop that to, or this guy to attack. I can pop that to make him discard a card. Almost never used. I'm not gonna lie, I've never played with any of the cards in the Z deck. I've never played any of them to the field. The deck does so much by itself, you almost never need none of this stuff. And then our last 3 cards in the deck are Jiren. Jiren, essentially, deflect, 2 cost, 2 Z energy. Comes out, auto, gives himself essentially barrier for the turn, and then you get to choose as many Z energy as you want, place them to the drop area. Based off how many Z energy you popped, you remove a marker per Z energy that you removed off your opponent's Unison. And then he gains 10k and double strike if you remove 2 or more. So essentially, for him to be a double strike play, you have to have 4 Z energy, which is a little rough to do, especially since I'm going for game most of the time on turn 3. So, with that being said, guys, this is my current Majin Vegeta list. Like I said, I kind of gave you guys a couple of little nitbits of what I like and what I don't like and what I think I might take out. Like Pan, like I said, if I had Cell Max, I'd probably just play Cell Max. This card's fantastic. I love this in the deck. Golden Frieza, I almost never use it. That could probably come out. Dormant and Frieza, I was thinking about cutting down just to add a couple more tech pieces. Yeah, but with that being said, that is just about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Should I go over some of my matchups from locals? I did go undefeated at my last locals. First, Kefla Surge, turn 1, or game 1. I went first, staged up this guy, went into my turn 2, and essentially put him all the way down to 1 life. I had this in hand, but because I did so much damage on my turn 2 and his turn 1, I made his hand so fat that I was worried that the 30k attack wasn't going to be enough to actually kill him, so I let him go into his turn 2. He didn't have what he needed to fully awaken, and then going into my turn 3, I killed him. With that being said, my next match was Superhero Gohan from the new Fighter's Ambition set. Deck is super aggressive, but because Frieza Charismatic doesn't do much against Piccolo, I did have to deal with his dual attacker, which put me to low life pretty early, which kind of sucked. But like at the end of the day, I managed to really pull through, force his. I did the plus on this, and it put a 1+ Tenkei in his hand, which forced him to have cards in his hand that he couldn't combo with, so that when he got down to his leader's effect, he could only empty his cards to his hand size down to 2, so that when he used the draw up to 3, he could only draw 1 extra card, which was probably one of the most impactful moments of that game. Shout out to that player in general, because that was an awesome game. It was a very, very fun match. And then round 3, my opponent didn't want to verse this deck because he knew it was an auto loss, so I pulled out Gamma 1 and 2 to verse against Black Broly, and that's on stream. I don't need to talk about that. So Majin Vegeta won that matchup by default because the opponent was too scared to verse it. Shout out to homie. I'm just playing. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this list. I have been having a ton of fun with this list. I'll probably continue to play it more and more. But with that being said, guys, leave me a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys next time.